Hey, it's Joe here, and welcome back as we continue to talk to Arthur. Did you know that the marriage agency or the mail order bride industry in the Ukraine and Russia alone is worth over $1 billion every single year? And the really sad, heartbreaking part of it is that according to the top industry insiders, over 95% plus of that $1 billion every year, so $950 million every year, is frauds and scams, conning you, the foreign man, out of your hard-earned money. That's really, really sad. And that's why, for the most part, we're doing this interview with Arthur today. You know, he's doing this interview without pay, out of the goodness of his heart, because for 10 years, he's been in search of love, in search of an amazing Ukrainian wife, and he's been unsuccessful. And he's blown over $10,000 on letter writing alone, not to mention a ton of more money to come to the Ukraine and meet and date and pay fees, agency fees to meet and date Ukrainian women. That number is a huge number. And he just wants to help you. He says, if I can help foreigners avoid all the costly, painful mistakes, he says, that I've made, I'm happy to. That's why Arthur is talking to us today. He's bearing his soul, literally, talking to us today. He's revealing all the painful, costly mistakes he's made, dating hundreds of women and coming up short. The reality of this situation is that Ukraine has more amazing, beautiful, smart, sexy, sophisticated ladies that are just looking for a good man to have a family with. That's what they want. It's a family-oriented society, not a me-oriented society as the Western world is. And they just want a good man to have a good family with. And for whatever reason, which you'll discover, they can't find one in the Ukraine. That is the truth of the situation. The really unfortunate part is that, you know, there's a lot of Western men also looking to be happy to marry one of these Ukrainian beauties, but the industry, this is the ugly truth, okay, straight up, the industry does not want to create happy marriages. It wants to milk you of your hard-earned money. That is the truth, and you'll hear it from Arthur. Why is that the case? It's really just sad and unfortunate, but we want to change that, or see if we can make a little bit of a difference to change all that, because there's a huge need here. So we want to encourage you, if you're a Western man looking for love, looking for a wife in the Ukraine, yes, it's definitely possible for you. The big challenge you have is it's like finding a diamond, you know, in a haystack kind of thing, because 99% of the agencies don't care about you meeting and marrying one of their clients. They just care about your money. So the industry is not designed, its purpose is not happy unions and marriages. So that's your challenge. So by sharing with you all of his mistakes, Arthur can also show you, reveal to you what the path for your success might be by showing you all these tips that he has for you right now. So also in this interview series, you're going to hear the confessions of a scammer. This is a woman that worked inside a marriage agency and conned Western men of their money. You're going to hear how she did it, how the industry does it, so you can now be able to avoid these landmines. You're going to hear her weep on camera as she tells one particular story of a man that she broke his heart. And he spent a whack of money through the agency as well to get his heart broken, which is not an untypical story. That's when she quit her job and left the industry. So you're going to hear firsthand from her. So that said, let's continue talking to Art. You know, Art, I know for myself and other Western men that I've talked to, we look at these beautiful ladies in the Ukraine, younger than us typically, and we go, why would this beautiful 30-year-old or 32, 35-year-old, whatever, be interested in me at 50? And I know for myself, I was shocked to discover that actually the physical part of the man is really low down on the priority list. If he happens to be fat and bald and gray-haired and, right, it's not so important to her. She's really after what? Maybe talk to me a little bit about that.
I will. This was a revelation to me as well. I'm not a particularly handsome man or well-built. I haven't got six-pack. And so I was always intimidated. But then as I've talked to so many of them, and ask them what you look for, what's important to you in a relationship. As you say, physical features fall way down the list. Number one, almost invariably, is I've got to have trust. I want a reliable man. I want a man who loves me and cares for me and protects me and wants a family. Those are the issues that they really talk about a lot. And because they're a practical woman, most of them, almost all of them, when they speak about protection and stuff, they're speaking about how can you provide for me? How can you be the protector and the provider in our household? Can I trust that you are going to be the man in the house?
When there's problems, you're going to solve them. You're going to man up. I can count on you.
Yes.
For all these things that the woman wants to be. The Ukrainian woman, I've discovered by talking and interviewing so many of them, they've been forced to become more like a man, to go to work in the workplace, to do many things, even around the house, like just to be more manly roles, because the man is not manning up.
Yes.
And they tell me, did they tell you they want to be a lady? They want more of that feminine energy. They want to have more time. They love their beauty. They want to go to the gym more because they very much honor their body and want to look their best.
I bet if I've heard it one time, I've heard it 100 times. I'm tired of being strong in my family. I want to be a weak woman for my man. But when they say that, they're not talking about physical strength. They're talking about, I want a man who can make the right decisions. I don't want to have to make all the decisions in the house. I want a man who, like you said, mans up and takes care of us and makes the decisions that are important. When she says she wants to be weak, she wants to be able to rely on her man. She wants to not have to worry about feminine, where the money's coming from to pay the bills. She doesn't want to have to worry about working 60 hours a week to make $100 a month so she can barely survive.
Because male and female energy can't exist in the same plane at the same time, right? They're opposite. Testosterone and estrogen, they're different energies. And if she's got to pour on the male testosterone type energy, she can't be as feminine. She wants to just, with a strong man, they say, said to me the same thing, I can be my feminine self, which is what she wants.
Yeah, it's marvelous. Yes,
it's wonderful.
It is
a breath of fresh air for us
I'll tell
Western
you,
men, isn't it?
And when you get into that type of relationship, it's just the best.
It's wonderful. Art, you've shared with me, and thank you so much for opening up your heart and saying, Joe, I've been looking for love in the Ukraine. I've been looking for a good wife for 10 years, but you've been unsuccessful. Can I just straight shooting straight talk?
Absolutely.
Why do you think that is, that you've been unsuccessful?
A couple of reasons. One, I got caught up early in the seductive world of letter writing and being seduced by these young, beautiful women. I'm not anywhere near the age of a lot of the women I made communications with. I got caught up in that, and it becomes addictive. So I kind of shopped in the wrong places, fished in the wrong ponds a lot, made trips over here to meet women that didn't exist, made some really bad choices. I didn't have any way of knowing if these were real women or not real women, or if they're really serious or not serious, because I was trying to do this all on my own through the letter writing. And it was just a very, very low success ratio, I think, overall. So I made a lot of mistakes, and I could have avoided them had I access or I'd even known existed a real matchmaking service that provided real women to real men who are serious. I would have jumped at the opportunity had I even known anything like that existed. I'm not even sure there was anything like that 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, the industry is pretty ugly. They don't really care about happy unions, happy marriages, do they?
No.
It's about money, unfortunately.
So I got caught up in that wanting a younger woman attitude, and I had unrealistic expectations.
And to let you off the hook a little bit on that, I think a lot of us guys, myself included, I got caught up in that for a little bit. I was corresponding with a 26-year-old and met up with her here in Sumi. And, you know, she was absolutely radiantly beautiful.
Yes.
But if the age gap is too big, what do you have in common, and what does your future potentially look like? As you get older, the age gap tends to widen, and the consequences of the age difference in life, that gap seems to widen as we age, and she's still relatively young. But, you know, in all fairness, this industry, it seduces the Western man,
Yes,
doesn't
it does.
On the profiles, let's start with that. On the profiles, it'll say, Sveta, let's say, and she's looking for a man between 40 and 65, and she's 30, let's say. And when you talk to Sveta, you say, why on your profile does it say that you'd be interested to a man up to 65? Is it true? She said, no, absolutely not. I don't know. They put that on my profile. I wasn't aware of that. Or they say, the agency told me to do that. It's better because sometimes, you know, they get more business.
Of course.
And they want me to help the agency. Or sometimes there is an older gentleman that, you know, the Western man really takes care of himself. And so we see this profile, we see the beautiful model pictures, we see that she's willing to meet and marry a man up to 65, even though she's 30. We're brainwashed.
Indeed.
Aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, we need to accept some responsibility for sure.
We do.
Maybe we're thinking with the wrong head.
Indeed we are. Often.
But at the same time, the industry is a little bit ugly that way, and we
very
kind of fall
shady.
into the trap.
Very shady in that. The other
So
thing
I let you off the hook a bit when
Thank you, I appreciate it.
On that one.
I'm just being honest because
you
I've made
are.
a lot of mistakes, and if my confessions will help other people, help other men, then I'll be very satisfied that for the time I've spent doing this and for opening up and sharing my mistakes.
So Art, what do you, on this topic of age gap,
Yes,
right?
yes,
You're saying, basically, if I'm understanding you correct, your biggest mistake is fishing in too young of a pond of
Yeah.
ladies.
Yes.
Something closer to your own age would probably end you up in a better relationship and potential for marriage and happy family. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I think after being here and knowing, meeting hundreds of Ukraine women over the years, many, many good ones, many not so good ones, I'm almost convinced that we have false expectations of being able to match up with a woman 30 years younger than us, etc. I think it would be really wise of men to look a little closer to their age. I would not be afraid of a 20-year gap. I know many successful relationships with a 20-year give or take gap. Somewhere around 10 to 20 years, you could go that big of a gap without being too worried. When the gap gets really large, or the girl gets very young in her 20s, you know, is it real? Is it really marriage she's looking for? She has a lifetime of options in front of her. You don't. This can be a game for her. It can be money, earning money for her. And the other thing is, too, you show up here, even if she is legitimate and does meet you and everything, I mean, it's just playtime for her. You're taking her to the restaurants, you're buying her gifts, etc.
Their choices diminish as they're above 30, 35. There's less and less good quality Ukrainian men, as they complain that the good ones are all married off. And so, yeah, under 20, I would agree with you. What are their true, what's their true agenda? What are they really after?
Under 30, I would say under 30, yeah.
Yes.
It's just because I can't speak for all of them, but it's been my experience and what I know. Most of them are looking at having a good time, having fun. They want to go to parties, they want clothes, they want jewelry, they want candies, flowers, restaurants. They want to enjoy all the benefits of a rich foreign man. But they're not going to necessarily want to make a commitment. They're not looking for marriage. They're not looking for a serious relationship. And if that's what you want, fine. But if you want a really a good, sincere, wonderful Ukraine woman as a wife, and you're serious about this, don't get caught in that trap. I got caught in that trap, and it cost me years of experience here, a lot of money. Look for
a lot of money and heartache,
oh,
and here you are 10 years later.
Yeah.
And you're a guy that is looking for a life companion. You know,
Yes.
for a friend, to be married to your
Yes.
friend, a life companion, somebody to enjoy the rest of your life with.
Indeed, I
Right.
am, yes.
Now, Art, talking about giving advice to prospective Western men looking to come to Ukraine, to meet their lady, to get married, if there was one piece of advice, your top piece of advice, you said, okay, it's more important than all the other advice you've given, what would it be?
I think the first piece of advice I would say would be to try to find a really reputable marriage agency or matchmaking agency and stay away from the letter writing industry. If you could find a truly sincere, legitimate, genuine agency who interviewed the women, interviewed you, provided real people and a real match, that would be that would save a lot of heartache, a lot of stress, a lot of the anxiety of coming over here. That would be a...
Because your chances are you're introduced to a good lady because they've already vetted, they've screened
Exactly.
her, maybe personally interviewed her.
And she, you know she's serious. That's huge. It's huge. She's really serious about this relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of hesitate to share how much time I've wasted and money and effort I've wasted. I think probably not counting airfare and my trips back and forth, the cost of apartments and the time I've spent here, just in the letter writing industry alone, I have spent well over $10,000. In fact, I at one time just yeah, and I'm really being honest here. Maybe I sound kind of foolish when I do this because one time not too long ago.
It's easy to get caught up in it though.
It's
That's
so
the whole
easy.
point. And thank you for being
Yeah.
so raw and real because it can happen.
And I'll tell you, I just want to tell you this.
The hook gets,
Yeah.
and then you can't get it out.
It's true. It's
true.
it's addictive. I just want to share this because it just came up. Thought about it not too long ago. I looked back in my records of the amount of letters I had written, and in about a 1 year, I had a 14-month period, I think I had written about 500 or 600 letters. And those letters could vary from $5 to $7 or $8 or $9 each one.
Right. All looking to meet a good woman.
In conversations, communication, trying to build something, and then all of a sudden it fall apart. And then it not be real, and then meet other ones, and then you get caught in this ego trip. It's like you get, wow, this beautiful woman's writing me. I want to see what she says, and then you do 5 letters there, and you find out it's and then on you go to the next.
Yeah.
It's real easy to get caught in that.
I did for 2 months too, and I can appreciate and I can recall the feeling of they send these amazing natural photos of them in the garden and natural iPhone shots, and you think this is a wholesome, good lady. Wow, and she's into me.
Yeah.
And they use this flowery language. Art, I go to sleep thinking of you. I wake up and you were in my dreams last night. And do Ukrainian women really talk like that?
No, not my experience.
Never.
Not even close.
No, they're pragmatic women. They're practical.
Yeah.
In fact, for a woman to say she loves you in Ukraine, it takes some time. They need to trust you. They don't say, I love you willy-nilly, do they?
No.
You have to earn.
And not
their
only
love.
that, they don't speak like the letters at all. These are women that I find to be conservative in their speech, a bit secretive. They're not
mysterious.
A little mysterious. They're not prone to share their feelings openly and heart openly until you really pretty solid. Even if you have a solid relationship, it may seem like they're indifferent at times when they're just madly in love with you. But sometimes they just don't want to share those kind of. They don't want to speak it out. I don't know how to say it quite right. But they feel it.
A bit reserved.
A bit reserved. That's a good way to do it. They're still a bit reserved. Even if you're in a solid relationship with them, they're a bit reserved.
And let's talk about that reserved sort of nature. Public displays of affection.
Not They're not big on public displays of
Even
affection.
hand-holding. Some of them don't like to hold hands in public. Definitely not kissing in public.
I've had very few mature, real women that really wanted to have that kind of a really public display. I mean, a little peck on the cheek, or they'll squeeze you sometimes like that, or just hold your hand like this, But as far as hand holding like this, or big long kisses in public, nah. No, don't even try it.
But get them private.
Whoa.
Changes the story, doesn't it?
All different
Very
world.
affectionate.
Hugely different world.
They're about, would you agree, they're about pleasing their man. In every way.
They love it.
They love it.
It's satisfying to them to make you happy. They want you to make them happy, and in turn, they will make you very happy.
Yeah. If you fulfill their needs, they want to rock our world, don't they?
They do. They do, and they can.
They can.
They're wonderful women.
They're wonderful.
And they're women in the greatest, in the best sense of the word.
It's worth the journey, isn't it? Would you say?
It is.
Would you? You're still on your quest to find a good wife in the Ukraine.
But the journey's been up and down, and I've had some good relationships that, for sometimes my fault, sometimes theirs, it just didn't work out long term. That's just kind of life. When you're trying to do everything on your own without.
No, were these women appropriately close to your age?
Yeah, they were closer to my age. Most of them were within 20 years, give or take, of my age. And
those relationships didn't work out?
They worked out to a certain point, and then we both realized that it just was not going to work out long term. And most of the time we separated happily. But in the meantime, building the relationships, they were just absolutely wonderful women, absolutely wonderful. I kick myself many times for not, jumping in and marrying, or at least asking them if they'd marry me anyway, even when I knew it wasn't right. So
when you knew it wasn't right.
Well, sometimes you work into a relationship, and you do it tentatively because you're not sure. So you kind of start working a relationship out together. And it can go really good for a while, and then pretty soon there are conflicts. And if you can't work those conflicts out, whether it's a language barrier or a cultural conflict barrier, or maybe different goals in life, maybe you find out that you're both going in different directions. There's no compatibility. So pretty soon you start, even in 6 months, you start kind of, you see that it's drifting apart. She sees it. She'll see it before you do.
Because it's still it's a real woman and a real relationship.
This is real.
It's not a mail order bride.
It is definitely not. This is real world.
These women, they don't want to flee Ukraine. Do they? The good ones. They don't want to flee Ukraine.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. No. I mean, they, as we said, they need to trust you first.
Absolutely.
And then they might be willing to relocate, to immigrate to your country. But it's not like we think when we're back home watching all the videos that these women will do anything for a ticket out of the Ukraine. These women will do anything to latch onto a guy with money that can provide. That's not the case at all.
And there's some like that, I'm sure. But the majority of these women that are serious...
No, I'm talking about the good ones.
The good ones.
The basket of scammers.
Yeah, we'll just leave those aside.
Yeah, we're not talking about... I'm talking about the serious women that are looking, which, in your experience, would you say... Let me ask you that question. On the dating sites, the marriage agency sites, how many do you think are serious? The basket of serious women genuinely looking to fall in love and marry you versus the basket of scammers. What's that proportion, do you think? And I know it's a guess, but
it's a guess.
A lot of experience.
Yeah,
so
and I've talked to numerous people in the industry that I know that were at one time.
You've met a lot of Western men clients here in your time in Ukraine?
Less than 10%
are
serious.
Less than 10%. So 90%.
I'd say 90% are not serious and or in that other basket.
In that other basket. Not serious and or false intentions, maybe scammers, all in that basket. So when you just come over here willy-nilly style on your own, you're looking at 90% probability of it ending up in a unhappy ending.
Yes, I agree with that. It's been my experience. I would say that the women that I have met through these agencies that I have met, 90% of them were either false or just not indifferent, not serious. It was not what they really wanted. Maybe
Some hidden agenda.
Yeah, they had a hidden agenda. Maybe they were being paid to meet me.
But you can tell.
You can
feel
tell
it in the
right
body
off the
language
bat.
if they're into you or not.
That's instantly, you know whether they're serious or not.
Wow. So I see how your advice, you got to find a good agency
Yes.
that vets out the women, personal interviews, and have some way of knowing, some matchmaker that knows that they're real, and then matches you with the lady.
I agree.
That would stack your deck for success.
Big time. Because, as I said, if 90% of the women on there are not serious, only 10%, then that could be a big, I might be being very generous in that. It
With
may
the
be,
10%?
Yeah, I was probably being very generous. So if there are only 10% of those people on there, what is your chances of connecting with one of those and actually building a relationship, even if they are serious? Very small.
So let me just clarify. In this 10 years that you've been looking for love, looking for a good wife in the Ukraine, you've never been able to find an agency that vets their ladies and you know they're good quality, serious ladies. You've not you've gone that route. You've gone more the letter writing and the do-it-yourself route.
Yes, yeah, I have.
And do you think that's a big part of why you've been unsuccessful?
I think so. I would imagine that there are some people who are successful with the letter writing agencies. It has not been
Well,
my
it's a billion-dollar industry.
I
There
mean,
better be some successes.
There's got to be some successes, and so I've never encountered a legitimate matchmaking service that vetted and helped match men's desires with women's desires and make sure there's both serious people, not just players in the
An
game.
agency that was truly
Yeah.
had the intention of
Right.
creating unions and happy marriages.
Well, you got to remember, if that agency does exist, then every time they match them together, they lose a potential client. It's letter writing.
Right.
So they don't really want that to take place. Now,
The industry,
industry. Now, if you had a legitimate service that actually wanted to make connections, they would be operating very differently than the letter writing industry. They would be legitimate. Their successes would be their advertising, and I believe that they would develop an honest business here in Ukraine.
I agree with you, Art. I can't thank you enough for being so raw and real with us here today.
My pleasure. I hope it helps.
It will. Thank you.
Good.
Hey, it's Joe here. How are you doing? Listen, I wanted to talk to you openly and personally for a moment here. Maybe you're like I was, divorced 2 times and just really distraught and given up on ever finding your other half, a soulmate, your best friend, somebody that's amazing, smart, sexy, talented, educated woman that will rock your world in more ways than you can imagine. I've found that, and I wish you to find that. I fervently believe the best women, the best wives are in the Ukraine here. And when I first came to the Ukraine, I went around from agency to agency, countless agencies, and talked to countless women. And that's why I'm doing this video interview series for you now, is so that you can uncover and discover the path for your success. I believe 90% of your success will depend on one thing. The other 10% will depend on your education and the time that you put into understanding the Ukrainian mentality, mindset, and what they're looking for in a man to decide if you're that kind of man. The 90% of your success part, I fervently believe, is finding a matchmaking service that's private and personal and will look for your other half for you. That's going to avoid the landmines and the frauds and scams. So if you want to avoid all of that and the heartbreak and getting your pocketbook broken, I think that's the best thing you could do. If you've decided that's the path you want to pursue, then I'd be happy to share a couple of the diamonds in the rough agencies that I've uncovered here in the Ukraine that are all about private, personal matchmaking. I've met and know the owners, and I know they're genuine and real. So shoot me an email. I'll be happy to make a personal private introduction with you. I do make a referral fee, so you know up front. And I wish you all the best in your personal journey to find and marry the most incredible, amazing Ukrainian wife you could possibly imagine. That said, take care for now and all the best.